Good afternoon. Welcome to you all. Now that you're seated, could you rise for the national anthem, the singing of Veni Creator, and the opening prayer? After the national anthem, the Reverend Kevin O'Brien of the Society of Jesus, Vice President for Mission and Ministry, will introduce the invocation. The national anthem will be led by Elizabeth Baker of New York, who has brought her own fan club. Georgetown College, class of 2016, please join with her in singing the anthem.
The Veni Creator Spiritus is one of the most widely used Roman Catholic hymns. Written about the 9th century, it is sung at Pentecost and has been used for centuries at other solemn assemblies, including the beginning and the closing of the academic year. In this ancient hymn, we pray that God's Holy Spirit will fill our hearts with comfort and wisdom and peace. The Veni Creator will be sung by members of the Georgetown University Phantoms. For the senior convocation, we have asked 2 members of the class who represent the Jewish and Muslim students of Georgetown to lead the opening prayer and the closing benediction. I now invite Jason Gustorf of Missouri, School of Foreign Service, class of 2016, to deliver our opening prayer.
What an amazing honor to be speaking in front of you all today. I'm deeply humbled. Once in a while, we are graced by an instant of transformation. A spark of realization that our lives have changed unalterably. Time carries us forward into the new. New careers, new friends, new relationships. This is one of those sacred moments. We graduate and we leap into the world. We are leaving not only Georgetown, but the homes and the families we have built here. The communities that exist because of us, as much as they exist for us. Unexplored frontiers always exist against a backdrop of reminiscence that beckons us to recall the old with pangs of longing. In the moments we say goodbye and look ahead with wonder, we feel the deep and soulful ache of the realization of finality, of finitude, that everything has its time and everything has its end. We may return to campus, but Georgetown will never be the same as it is right now. This limit grants us the liberty to treasure the individual moments of our lives. Each hour is unique and endlessly beautiful. It is traditional in Judaism to utter the phrase, Zichrona livracha, in the time of mourning a loved one's passing. It means, may their memory be a blessing. We proclaim that while people and events have reached their end, they continue to exist within our minds and within our hearts. The new is reconciled with the old by realizing their intimate connection. The pain of remembrance is the pain of longing, and in that longing we are reminded of the beauty of the past and the possibilities for the future. We are to realize deeply that the present moment is all we ever have. Let us be grateful for the memories of our years here. Let the bonds of love and friendship forged here never leave us. May they be a blessing and a guiding light in the years to come. Zichrona livracha.
Please be seated. Members of the faculty and staff, representatives of the Alumni Association over here on my left, members of the graduating class, parents and family, ladies and gentlemen, 4 years ago, the new student convocation of the class of 2016 was held on Sunday, August 26, 2012, in this very room. Some other graduates here came as transfer students and experienced later convocations. As it turned out, that was my very first month at Georgetown, my first new student convocation as provost, and it was my first time, and the first time for most people in this room, to witness the ritual act of entering the Georgetown community. You know, when you're on the podium up here, you experience an event like this in a very different way than when you're in the audience. That day, I could see the emotions running through the heads of the new students. I imagined that what they were saying to themselves, what is this all about? What kind of place is this that I've come to where you wear your graduation robe before you've actually started? And all these other students I've met over the past few days, why does everyone seem smarter than I am? Do I really deserve to be here on the hilltop? Did the Office of Admissions make some terrible mistake, and I hope no one ever discovers it? And for the families on the sides, that instant 4 years ago, I remember you using tissues to blot out the tears, anticipating the missing of their beloved child, fearing in a way both for their child and themselves, but also deeply happy to witness this passage. Well, today is very different. This event is really a bookend to the Georgetown experience. Today on the sides, I see parents looking forward to jumps in their discretionary income. I noticed the parents are clapping more than the students. Some are planning quietly a home office where once there was a bedroom. But I can feel, we can all feel in this room the visible signs, the pure joy of success of their offspring. So I know the families in this room have a deep sense that this is one of those moments in life when preparation and sacrifice of a whole bunch of people have led to an unambiguous payoff. In front of me, instead of student eyes looking like deer in headlights, I actually see very different looks. Confident, a little bloodshot among some of them. We won't talk about that. At ease, expectant, excited, justifiably proud. A little older, I should note, hopefully a little wiser. And I can tell you, if our faculty's wishes were fulfilled, a little more centered on how each of you might give back, might, in your own way, build a better world and truly be what we seek, a woman or man for others. So these moments like this, these feelings are worth savoring. You, the graduates, achieved this state through exposure to repeated small stressors in your life. They were called courses. Those stressors allowed you to incorporate new knowledge into your worldview. Every course that you successfully conquered made you stronger. And each person, different from you, that you befriended, gave you lifelong skills to navigate this incredibly complicated world. Learning the stories of those less fortunate than you hopefully gave you the empathy to understand others. The time in Lao, late at night, in faculty offices discussing a course, or up late at night in dorm rooms working in groups, all of this paid off. You did it. You know, we live in a world where stopping for a moment to reflect on one's status is a too rare event. Well, this convocation is quite deliberately an attempt to stop the noise of this transition in your lives. It asks you quite explicitly to look back on the years you've spent here, but also to look forward, look ahead, to consider the enduring gift that Georgetown will be in your lives. Throughout this journey, you, the graduates, from that first convocation to now, next to you, guiding you, pushing you when necessary, and caring for you constantly was our faculty, represented by those behind me. Today for them is sort of a birthing day. They are very, very proud of you, and I know you deeply appreciate them. President DeGioia, seated before you are the graduating classes of Georgetown College, the School of Nursing and Health Studies, the Walsh School of Foreign Service. You can scream. So I'll start again. Georgetown College, the School of Nursing and Health Studies, the Walsh School of Foreign Service, the McDonough School of Business, and the School of Continuing Studies. These graduates represent 48 of the United States, and as the flags you saw as the procession came in, that now flank them, 65 other nations, 32 graduates from South Korea, 18 from China, 13 from Canada, 6 each from France, India, Mexico, Taiwan, and the United Kingdom, 5 from Colombia, Germany, and Spain, 4 from Hong Kong, Italy, Jordan, and Singapore, 3 from Australia, Bangladesh, Nigeria, Philippines, Turkey, and Ukraine, 2 from Brazil, Greece, Israel, Japan, Liberia, Moldova, Pakistan, Panama, Trinidad, and Tobago. And finally, 1 each from 34 other countries, including the Winnebago tribe of Nebraska. We treasure that diversity. They collectively have received over $120 million in scholarship support from Georgetown. They've won highly competitive graduate fellowships, including 15 Fulbrights, the largest number in history. One Marshall Scholarship, one Schwartzman Scholarship, one All-Britain Scholarship, one Truman Scholarship, 6 Critical Language Scholarships, 2 Presidential Fellowships, 13 Gilman International Scholarships, 1 Pickering, 1 Middle East and North African Regional Fellowship, and 6 Princeton Fellowships. Ten of them are being commissioned into the United States Army. At Georgetown, they have taken 79,361 classes, so they're tired. Together, they have earned 233,000 credit hours. The youngest of them is 20 years old. The oldest of them is 47. They have contributed to the more than 350 performances staged by the academic and co-curricular programs in music and theater and dance, plus 32 faculty-led and student-led performing arts groups. In the past 4 years, the seniors in performing arts experience audience attendance of over 50,000 patrons and programs generating ticket revenue of $433,000. "63 of the seniors are student organization leaders, 34 are program coordinators in our Center for Social Justice across 36 student-led organizations and 7 signature programs for community engagement, social action, social justice research in the DC community. 21 seniors were leaders of alternative break trips this past year. 116 of them have participated in one or more of 29 Georgetown varsity athletic teams. They have earned, those athletes, 200 academic honors. They've won 10 league regular season or tournament championships. They have participated in 68 league championships in 32 postseason NCAA tournaments, and they've earned more than 120 all-league athletic honors, more than 30 All-American honors. So President DeGioia, here they are, 1,779 strong, the Georgetown class of 2016. To present the winner of the 2016 Dorothy Brown Prize, it is now my pleasure to introduce Joe Luther from Illinois. Georgetown College class of 2016 and the outgoing president of the Georgetown University Student Government Association. Joe?
Thank you, Dr. Groves. Father O'Brien, if you'd like to join me at the podium, please. Right? I have a spot for you. The Dorothy Brown Award is presented to an outstanding faculty member whose contributions demonstrate a strong commitment to the educational advancement of students. The award is named to honor Professor Dorothy Brown, between 1966 and 1998, a distinguished member of Georgetown's Department of History, and from 1998 to 2002, provost of the university. It is the only teaching prize for which all undergraduates across the 4 schools vote. The 2016 Dorothy Brown Award is presented to Reverend Kevin O'Brien of the Society of Jesus. Wait for it. There's more. There's more, don't worry. Please. Not well. 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 We're gonna keep going. I haven't even told you what he's done yet. Father O'Brien graduated from the college in 1988 with a BA in government. Among other distinctions, he was selected as a Baker Scholar and elected to membership in Phi Beta Kappa. He went on to study law at the University of Florida and practiced law for several years before turning to teaching. He entered the Society of Jesus in 1996 and was ordained a priest 10 years later. He returned to his alma mater in 2008, first as executive director of campus ministry, and then in 2011 as vice president for mission and ministry. In that role, he has been responsible for the spiritual care not only of Roman Catholics, but of Muslims, Jews, Protestant and Orthodox Christians, Buddhists, and Hindus, for people of all faith traditions. He has also been, as this prize indicates, an enormously popular and effective teacher. He lectures in the Department of Theology in the area of ecclesiology. In 2011, Loyola Press published his award-winning book, The Ignatian Adventure, Experiencing the Spiritual Exercises of St. Ignatius in Daily Life. As one of his students has written, and as every one of his students has agreed, it is a privilege to get to know this man who embodies every value our university hopes to promote. He is brilliant and dedicated and challenges his students to be their best. And it's also a privilege now for me to invite my classmates and all of our guests to acknowledge this remarkable man with our applause. Thank you, Father O'Brien, for everything that you have done for Georgetown and for its students.
At the new student convocation those 4 years ago, the program started with a speech by that year's McTie speaker, Emily Olson, a senior in the School of Foreign Service. Her speech, as you may recall, was designed to offer a glimpse of what was ahead. At today's convocation, we also begin with student speakers. We have not one, but two of the most accomplished of your fellow seniors to share with you the richness of their own Georgetown experience. Grace Minetta May of Tennessee is graduating magna cum laude from the college with a major in government. At Georgetown, she has dedicated much of her time at the Center for Social Justice as a coordinator of the DC Schools Project. She also served as a research assistant at the Georgetown Community Research Group and was involved in the Georgetown University Student Association as Secretary for Social Justice. Grace is a Wasserman Scholar, a Reverend Daniel E. Power Memorial Scholar, and Alina Landiger Service Award winner. In the spring of 2015, she won one of the nation's most prestigious Harry S. Truman scholarships to support her commitment to public service at the intersection of immigration, education, and social justice. After graduation, she will complete a fellowship facilitated by the Truman Foundation with the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services in Policy Research and Evaluation before going on to graduate school. Grace.
Five jugs of water, the weight of 5 gallons strapped across your back. To survive, that is the minimum burden a migrant has to bear, crossing the miles and miles of treacherous mountain and desert up through Mexico and Arizona. Still, every year, thousands find themselves stranded, blistered, and waterless. During my time on the southern border, living in a migrant shelter, I accompanied the Tucson Samaritans on a water drop, where volunteers hike along migrant trails and leave jugs of water behind. And when I joined my first hike, early in the morning to outrun the daytime heat, I felt this special brand of anxiety, because on a water drop, I would walk for hours with no sign of human life besides my Samaritan companions, the hum of a parked Border Patrol car, and the uneven sloshing of water in our backpacks. And there were moments where the whole ritual seemed absurd and hopeless. I had to drop my jugs in this seemingly endless desert and had to hope that someone in need would come upon them. Some nameless, imagined stranger who I had no proof existed. My time on the border at the migrant shelter was a blur of faces and stories as we worked to unify women and children released on humanitarian parole with their families. Sometimes a mother and child would stay at the home for only a few hours, enough time for a bath, clean clothes, and a meal. But one day, a special guest came to stay with us. An unaccompanied minor, a boy who had crossed the border alone, was released to us after months in detention. He moved into a small bedroom down the hall from me, and one day he shared with me some of his crossing story. He said that he had packed in the 5-gallon jugs on his back, but the supply wasn't enough, and after a week in the desert, he had run dry. In my mediocre Spanish, I mentioned the efforts of the Tucson Samaritans, who leave these piles of water jugs along the trails. And his brow crinkled for a moment, and then I recall so vividly this bright spark of recognition in his eyes. "I found those jugs," he told me. And suddenly, the stranger, who I had struggled so hard to imagine while walking in the desert, was sitting in front of me on my couch in my living room. Every day, we make judgments about who matters, whose lives matter, who deserves a face, a name, a story. We decide who is worthy of our tears and whose children deserve clean water. We draw these invisible circles around ourselves, around our families, our churches, our teams. And those decisions in our personal lives and in our politics mean something. I was raised in the hills of the Southern Bible Belts of Tennessee and educated by Jesuits on the hilltop, but I do have a confession. Despite everyone's best efforts, I still don't believe in God in any conventional sense. However, I did realize, halfway through writing this speech, my final nerve-wracking assignment at Georgetown, that this story is fundamentally a story of faith. The faith that if I reach out, someone will reach back. As we face the prospect of life beyond Georgetown, we are called to make sense of a world that feels more interconnected, yet unpredictable than ever. And as a student of political science, I could certainly rely on academic rhetoric to push back against the ideals of building global community. I can invoke the language of nationalism and statehood, security imperatives, and rule of law. But Georgetown has instilled in us more than the tools to simply understand and justify the world as it is. We have been given the power and the burden of moral imagination. To envision a future beyond the familiarity of tribe and nation and the false comfort of borders and walls is as much a practical political imperative as it is our generation's great moral reckoning. Moral imagination means believing that children should not die in a desert and then having the courage to take action. And I'm not suggesting that negotiating these ideas is easy. In fact, what a Georgetown education demands of us is to embrace complexity and challenge what pretends to be black and white. But compassion is the place to start, not the place to compromise. When we became the class of 2016, we came to Georgetown from around the globe, and we made a home. We became neighbors as we lived and learned together. And now we will be scattered all over the world again. So after these years learning to be Hoyas, striving to be men and women for others, what do we know? We know that walls work both ways. And when we deny someone else's humanity, we are really denying our own. When I close my eyes, So when I close my eyes and I reflect on the meaning of faith and moral imagination, I see lonely jugs of water waiting in a desert. But I also see the faces of my ambitious, talented, resilient classmates, ready to reach out, ready to lead lives of purpose. The greatest test of our moral imagination will be seeing the stranger as our neighbor, despite all that remains uncertain and unknown. Our faith, however that is defined, expects this of us. Let us expect it of ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you, Grace. Matthew Chauvin Quallen of Connecticut is graduating magna cum laude from the School of Foreign Service with a major in international history. At Georgetown, he has participated in the International Relations Club, traveling with its Model United Nations team. He served as CEO of the Georgetown International Relations Association and has written for the Hoya. He has interned at the Library of Congress, the Supreme Court of the United States, and the Brookings Institution. He is a John Carroll Fellow and was elected to Phi Beta Kappa. He was appointed by President DeGioia as a member of the university's working group on slavery, memory, and reconciliation. And this fall, he won a coveted British Marshall Fellowship and will study for advanced degrees in history for the next 2 years in the United Kingdom. Matthew.
I should open with a confession. The writing of this speech began, like many mediocre things, on a Friday night. My friends had gone out, and I, feeling sick, had stayed home. I had an idea, so I decided to draft. I poured a glass of water, sat down in a chair, and began to write. The writing went sour quickly, around the 400th word to be exact, when something unexpected happened. My friends came home early. I have nosy friends. Seeing me writing, they took 2 chairs opposite me and arrayed themselves around me like interrogators. My friends weren't quite sober, but I doubt they would have refrained from questioning me, even if they had been. They demanded to know exactly what I could be writing on a Friday night. Expecting the worst, I told them, with a grimace, a speech for the senior convocation. The murder panel leaned in. About what? They asked. And so I explained my outline to them. I was going to talk about the Georgetown gift, the ostensible theme of this ceremony. I wanted to suggest that the Georgetown gift came at a cost, namely, a series of terrible crimes in our past. In particular, the 1838 sale of 272 slaves who supported the university. That sale rescued the university from financial disaster and likely prevented the school from closing. At the end, I was going to pose a question that I thought was provocative and really hard to live with. If we could undo it all, give up Georgetown, give up this ceremony and the chairs beneath us to avoid making the sale, would we? My friends were stony, unmoved. One at a time, they told me that they felt distant from 1838. The past was just so long ago, they explained. Find a topic closer to home, they suggested. I struggled to make the past seem present. I told them about Maringouin, Louisiana. Maringouin, whose name means mosquito, is a bayou town in Iberville Parish, Louisiana, just west of Baton Rouge. It's small, about 1,100 residents, and shrinking. Maringouin is also where slavers took a large portion of the 272 people sold to save Georgetown. On a nearby plantation, they did the difficult work of harvesting sugarcane in fetid swamps. Genealogists have estimated that the majority of the town's population may descend from the Jesuit slaves. In a sense, my friends were right. Maringouin, Louisiana is very distant from Georgetown. In Maringouin, the median household income is about $20,000. The graduates today can easily expect to make 5 times that amount by the middle of their careers. Some of them will do so next year. But when I told them this, When I told my friends this, they maintained that they didn't feel a direct connection. As somebody who studies history, that surprised me. Few connections from the present to the past are as tight as the ones wound by slavery. The connection between Georgetown's survival and Meriwether, Louisiana, is especially strong. I didn't, and I don't, know how to make the past more present than by pointing out that the sale of human beings was a prerequisite to the event at which I am delivering this speech. But that didn't cut it, and I've been wondering why. We are supposed to be the most connected generation in history. I think we are the most estranged. We're a Humpty Dumpty generation. Our shared narratives have shattered, and all we're left with is eggshell. There's no putting it back together again. This sort of a shattering isn't hard to see in the United States today. Americans distrust their institutions to the point of anger. Americans distrust Congress, the courts, the police. Americans distrust banks and the economy in general. Americans distrust the church and the academy. Americans distrust the telling of history. And Americans who do not distrust any of these things distrust those who do. My experience with the Georgetown gift represents a piece of this problem. I look to Georgetown's past and I find something dark and costly in the idea of bleeding Hoya blue. Many of my friends do not. When we try to talk to one another, we're all left grasping. I'm fearful the same rule will apply to this speech. Some people in the audience will have heard slavery or estrangement and tuned out. Others will have tuned in. For that matter, it may even apply to some of the speeches later this weekend. Some of us hear about immigration policy, and our hearts break for the world that Grace described. Broken families and vast deserts. Even as we celebrate, some of us will carry this heartbreak within us at our commencement. Others won't. But the reason we've come here to college is to push Humpty Dumpty off the wall. We need neither straw men nor shiny round narratives to tell us about the world. Describing our world and the experiences of all people within it requires broken stories, exactly because many parts of our world are broken. Humpty Dumpty, left whole, is up to no good. He's blue without gray. So here is my advice to you. Don't be the king's horses and men. Don't try to put it all back together again. It won't work. We aren't tinkerers who get to mold a world full of disagreement into a single coherent whole. And if you try, that whole will shatter. People, and even places like Georgetown, contain good and bad. Instead, tell more stories, not fewer. Listen more, not less. Have compassion. The way in which we will learn to resonate with one another will not be by crafting one single narrative. It will happen when we understand that in a world as complex and shattered as our own, we each have something to say, and we learn to live with the difference. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Matthew. At the 2012 New Student Convocation, we also offered you some words of guidance from a member of the faculty. You, the students, have heard quite a few faculty members since that day. So at this concluding ceremony, we have instead asked a member of our extended Georgetown family to address you. Someone who only a few years ago sat exactly where you're sitting now. He speaks on his own and also on behalf of all those Georgetown classes who've gone before you into the world as men and women for others. Maher Bitar currently serves as Deputy to the U.S. Permanent Representative to the United Nations and leads the Washington office of the U.S. Mission to the United Nations. In this capacity, he represents the Ambassador to the United Nations, Samantha Power, in the U.S. government's interagency foreign policy decision-making process, and serves as a member of the National Security Council's Deputies Committee, where he sits alongside other deputies of the members of the President's Cabinet. A career civil servant, foreign affairs officer, Maher began his government service at the State Department in the Office of the Special Envoy for the Middle East Peace, first under the leadership of Senator George Mitchell, and then Ambassador David Hale, currently the U.S. Ambassador to Pakistan. By the way, just a footnote, both of them are Hoyas. Maher moved to the National Security Council staff of the White House in 2013, where he served as Director for Israeli and Palestinian Affairs for over 2 years before taking on his current role. A 2006 graduate of the School of Foreign Service, Maher also holds a Juris Doctor degree from Georgetown Law and is a member of the Maryland Bar. Between 2006 and 2009, as a Marshall Scholar, he studied at Oxford's Refugee Studies Center, from which he received a Master of Science degree in forced migration. He's worked with the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees in Malaysia and the United Nations Relief and Works Agency in Jerusalem. As an undergraduate, he was deeply involved with Seeds of Peace, a program that brings teenagers into interpersonal dialogue across lines of conflict. And in 2006, he was one of the 2 senior speakers at that year's convocation, the convocation we're having today, some years ago. We are delighted to welcome him back to this podium to offer the convocation address. Maher.
Thank you, Provost Groves, for the kind introduction. It feels good to be back. This place I called home had a profound impact on me. This is where I met my remarkable wife, on the lawn just outside Healy Hall, where we got married and where we baptized our daughter with the help of Father McManus. I say this not just because, and I have written here, she's sitting in the front row here today, except she's hiding in the back over there. Thank you, President DeGioia, Father O'Brien, and distinguished faculty. Grace, Matthew, thank you for sharing your reflections. They are fitting, given what I will speak about today. A special thank you as well to Dr. Glavin. You made an unorthodox investment in my future when I was a student. I am deeply grateful. And congratulations to the class of 2016. But more importantly, congratulations to all the loved ones here today. You've done the needful. You can finally take a breather. It's time for these graduates to return the favor. You can stand up. On that note, before I start, like any good, cautious government official, I'm taking the advice of our lawyers, and I make this disclaimer at the top. I am making these remarks in my personal capacity, and they do not necessarily represent the views of the US government. With that out of the way, I do want to have a frank conversation with all of you about the choices and paths that lie before you. You are entering the real world during what may feel like a distinct moment in our nation's modern history. We are in the midst of a long overdue, even if contested, national conversation on race and inequality into which Georgetown has been prominently thrust. It is a testament to you, the students, and to Georgetown's leadership that the university is wrestling openly with its past. In line with Georgetown's Jesuit mission and core principles, the university has a unique opportunity to be a leader in this conversation and carve a path for other institutions to follow. This is a legacy-defining moment, which future generations of Hoyas will hopefully be able to look back on with pride. I attended Georgetown at another distinct moment. I arrived in the fall of 2002, in the shadow of the terrible attacks of 9/11. Over my 4 years, fueled by Wingos, or a chicken madness when Wisey's was just outside the gate, debate and disagreement on the national stage about how our country should act abroad played out in intense form on campus. Covered by chalk and hand-painted posters, we didn't have fancy printers then, Red Square served as a focal point of protest and counter-protest as highly contested decisions, many that still reverberate today, were being made just a few miles away. Our invasion of Iraq, the global war on terror, the use of torture, our discordant responses to conflict, from Darfur to the Second Palestinian Intifada, on enhanced surveillance and the protection of civil liberties. For me, there was another dimension to the debate. I am first-generation Palestinian American. My family has experienced the profound consequences of war and displacement. For Arab Americans like me on campus, the world we faced within and outside Georgetown's gates could feel deeply alienating. It was hard to escape feeling like the other. Not unlike today, being Arab meant often feeling like the object of constant scrutiny, misplaced hostility, even suspicion. Public discourse on Arabs and Muslims seemed to reinforce, in both crude and subtle ways, a troubling feedback loop of misunderstanding, misinformation, and stereotypes. You could call it mansplaining with a twist. Newfound experts were explaining and in the process defining our communities, our culture, our history. To make matters worse, we often felt uniquely voiceless. We inhabited a paradox. On the one hand, we were becoming increasingly visible as a group. On the other hand, we remained an abstraction, a caricature in the public imagination. As real people, as Americans, we felt largely invisible to mainstream America. This feeling was compounded by recognition, as I mentioned earlier, that fateful decisions on policies at home and abroad, including in the Middle East, were being made in rooms and at tables at which we were not present. Even worse, there was a distinct feeling, whether justified or not, that we were not welcome. For those of us struggling to find our way in the world, this spurred an intense debate about how to effect change. To many of you here today, and to students of American history, the late-night conversations many of us had will be familiar. They echo long-running debates by other marginalized communities throughout our nation's history. What is the most effective way to change policies we disagree with or we believe harmful? As members of a minority community, should we work within or outside the system? And what does that mean for each of us and the career choices and paths we pursue? On Convocation Day, exactly 10 years ago yesterday, I stood at this very podium addressing my graduating class. Dr. Glavin may recall my opening and closing words. I came to Georgetown angry, but leave empowered. I felt passionately about making a difference, but deeply uncertain how. Those questions lingered unanswered. The one path I had foreclosed, however, was joining government. Not without reason. For many immigrant or minority families, the government can be viewed warily, even with suspicion. Keep your head down and avoid politics. Pursue a real profession. Care for, protect your family. If you were nonetheless intent on seeking change, to join the government was to sell out, to compromise, to become complicit in policies that had a disproportionate impact on minorities like me. If you had asked my 22-year-old self a decade ago what path I thought I would take, government service is possibly the last one I would have considered. Now, I stand before you in a senior government position. As a deputy to a member of the President's Cabinet and National Security Council, I sit at the decision-making table, let's call the Deputies Committee, alongside the other second-in-commands of other government agencies. Though I still wrestle with some of the same questions about affecting change, I now have a voice at the table, at times a contrarian one, as we grapple with some of the most complex and sensitive policy choices and crises worldwide. Drawing on my experience, I hope today to plant a seed with all of you as you take your first steps into what feels like uncharted territory. I want to make a case for and demystify government service, particularly for those of you from underrepresented communities, for those of you who might feel conflicted about or even disagree with American policy and want to change it, for those looking elsewhere in the search for careers with meaning, purpose, and the ability to change the world around us. At the same time, I want to make a case for why it is imperative that our government, with a focus on our foreign policy and national security workforce, truly reflect our country in all its diversity. And by diversity, I mean ensuring the broadest American tent that welcomes and draws on our nation's phenomenal range of identities, beliefs, experiences, and views. For that to happen, important shifts are needed on two fronts. One, a broader set of talented American graduates, like all of you, of all races, socioeconomic backgrounds, religions, sexual orientations, need to join the ranks and invest in transforming our institutions. Two, our institutions need to reciprocate. They need to do a better job welcoming, promoting, and retaining a truly diverse workforce and leadership across all levels. With this in mind, at President Obama's direction, the government has been spearheading a much-needed initiative to evaluate the state of diversity and inclusion and develop concrete ways to catch up with the America that exists today and keep pace with the America that we are becoming. This initiative is based on a clear-eyed recognition that despite incremental progress, diversity in the foreign policy sphere continues to lag behind the rest of the federal government and our general population. And diversity is, in fact, necessary. It is mission critical. A hard look at our workforce, including its leadership, is sobering. Minorities make up about 40% of our nation's population, and yet less than 20% of our senior diplomats and 15% of our senior military officers and intelligence officials come from these communities. Our diplomatic corps as a whole, our face to the world, is unrepresentative. 60% men, only 7% Asian American, just over 5% African American, even fewer are Hispanic American, let alone Arab American. As National Security Advisor Susan Rice noted in a commencement address last week, in the halls of power, in the faces of our national security leaders, America is still not fully reflected. But it's not simply about reaching parity. Achieving diversity and inclusion is a strategic objective, a strategic imperative. Drawing on our country's unparalleled diversity is in our national security interest. I've seen the impact firsthand in the course of my career. Here are 4 reasons why. First, as reflected here today, talent, creativity, innovation, they don't discriminate. Foregoing the contributions, skills, and insights of our brightest people across the range of American experiences means limiting ourselves at home and abroad. To stay a step ahead, we need to draw on every part of our country's social fabric and vibrant talent pool and actively cultivate and reward diversity of identity, experience, and thought. Second, diversity strengthens our diplomacy and influence abroad and better informs our decision-making. It is imperative that our diplomats reflect our country as it is, not as it was. I see this firsthand in the work by our mission to the United Nations in New York. In many ways, they are the face of America to the world, a microcosm of our diplomatic corps. Our missions abroad are stronger the more they reflect our nation. They can forge deeper connections across cultural and linguistic barriers and can explain our aims and interests with more credibility. Our diplomats often operate in challenging environments where women don't have equal rights, where same-sex relationships are criminalized, where minorities are disenfranchised and can never dream of holding positions of power. We send a powerful message and lead by example when our diplomatic corps and national security officials reflect a world in which everyone is empowered. As importantly, a diverse diplomatic and intelligence corps invariably produces more nuanced and insightful reporting, challenges assumptions, and ensures more rigorous analysis. All vital ingredients as we grapple with developments in every corner of the world. Third, an inclusive and representative workforce and leadership are crucial if our institutions are to earn and sustain trust and credibility with the American people. Diversity in our institutions and decision-making leads to mutually reinforcing benefits. It fosters greater inclusion and buy-in by underrepresented communities in our body politic, and it invests a greater set of Americans in charting our nation's future. It also guards against groupthink and policies at home and abroad that can erode that very trust and credibility. Now, careers in foreign policy and national security bring with them immense responsibility. Responsibility to keep Americans safe, but also to wield our immense influence and might around the world with care. You will be working for the most powerful actor in the world. You'll have the opportunity to be a force multiplier for good, dispatching humanitarian assistance to the places of greatest need, negotiating an end to conflicts, strengthening international norms, defending human rights. Our country has the reach, the influence, and the resources to shape the world like no other, for the better, but also, even if unintentionally, for the worse. This brings a unique dimension to the work carried out every day by officials at every level. Decisions we make and actions we take can reverberate in unanticipated ways with second or third order consequences that can reach down into foreign societies and can deeply affect our own. Pierre Elliott Trudeau, Canada's former Prime Minister and the father of current Prime Minister and heartthrob, Justin Trudeau, captured this vividly in 1969. Speaking about relations in the US, he said, and I quote, "Living next to you is in some ways like sleeping with an elephant. No matter how friendly and even-tempered is the beast, if I can call it that, one is affected by every twitch and grunt." Now, as I mentioned earlier, our institutions need to reciprocate. It's not enough to have a national security workforce with more diverse faces. Differences should be viewed as a strategic asset, with members empowered to speak their minds, challenge assumptions and approaches, even dissent in forging policy. Increasingly complex global challenges demand a vibrant culture open to all levels, or at all levels, to alternatives, even unconventional solutions. For this to happen, it requires a rigorous, self-critical, and continuous effort by our institutions to root out prejudice and conscious and unconscious bias, attract the broadest pool, and ensure equality of opportunity. Now, whatever opportunities you seek out and paths you ultimately choose, I want to leave you with wisdom from one of the great philosophers of the moment. Music producer and fellow Palestinian American, DJ Khaled, who has enumerated major keys to success. Now, listen carefully. The first key to success is cocoa butter. Some of you get that. Now, seriously, the second major key to success is almond milk and cinnamon toast crunch. Okay, some of you also got that. Okay. You should get Snapchat. In all seriousness, here are 3 lessons I've taken to heart in the decade since I walked out of those gates. First, don't just seek out a mentor. Seek out an apprenticeship. Not to be confused with that classy reality television show. You live here today, as discussed, with a skill set designed to help you absorb information, understand the world around you, and most importantly, analyze it critically. If you pursue graduate studies or a professional degree, you will deepen that reservoir of knowledge and further refine those skills. But they are not a substitute for in-depth professional immersion, guided by someone with the experience to impart wisdom, explain the tangibles and intangibles, and teach by example. I learned the craft of diplomacy not by DJ Khaled, but by working intensively alongside one of our great diplomats and fellow Hoya, David Hale, when he was our special envoy for Middle East peace. I continue to absorb the art and the science of foreign policy decision-making through the example of our National Security Advisor, Susan Rice, whose deep confidence in her staff and in me gave us unparalleled opportunities to excel, punch way above our weight, and push our boundaries. Which brings me to my second lesson learned. Don't be afraid to shock your system. Take on responsibility and pursue initiatives that test your readiness and confidence. In a recent interview on creative breakthroughs, writer Ta-Nehisi Coates captured the essence of this in describing his growth as a writer. He said, and I quote, "I think breakthroughs come from putting an inordinate amount of pressure on yourself and seeing what you can take and hoping that you grow some new muscles. Repeated practice over and over again, and then suddenly you become something you had no idea you could really be." To describe the leap to my current job as a shock to my system would be an understatement. But Ambassador Samantha Power, herself an immigrant, took a chance on me last summer by choosing me as her deputy, regardless of my background or age. I have had no choice but to grow new muscles on the job, even if I don't look jacked in this robe right here. Finally, preserve a deep sense of humility and perspective. As you walk outside these doors today, remember that your degree and the credentials that you will accumulate, they don't define you, and they should not define others. What will forever define you is how you treat others and what you decide to do with the immense privilege granted to you today, a diploma from Georgetown University. Hoya Saxa.
Thank you, Maher. We come now to the moment in which you move as a class from being students to being alumni. To initiate that change, I invite Mr. George Peacock, college class of 1984, president of the Alumni Association, to come to the podium.
Thank you, Dr. Groves. As I look out, it is not lost on me that everyone who has spoken before me has ended with a standing ovation. Just saying. About 104 years ago, this month, about 2 weeks after the Titanic sank to the floor of the ocean, the Alumni Association gave to the university the statue in Healy Circle of John Carroll. And at that occasion, the president of the university, Alphonsus Donlan, S.J., said that as the greatness of a country is determined by its citizens, the greatness of a university is determined by the quality of her children. Happy is that university that when asked the question, what are your resources, what are your riches, can say, the alumni, my children are my jewels. I want to once again thank Maher for his remarks, as well as Grace and Matthew. As you recognized by your standing after their speech, they are part of our jewels. So class of 2016, no pressure. At the new student convocation sitting in McDonough, just as you are today, You were a group of individuals from different high schools, different states, and as you can see, even different countries. You remain citizens of those states and countries, but your identity has changed since that ceremony. You put on your academic gowns in unison to symbolize the journey you have taken together here at the Hilltop. And since then, you shared experiences that you've had together have transformed you into a community of Hoyas who call Georgetown home. And even though you will be leaving the Hilltop in 3 short days, you exit as the class of 2016, a tight-knit group that will remain part of Georgetown forever. The 2016 Alumni Class Committee, headed by Anabi Adoga of Maryland, Georgetown Class of 2016, and Eva Arroyo from Wisconsin, School of Foreign Service Class of 2016, they'll be your link to Georgetown and to the Alumni Association through numerous regional, annual homecoming, and even those 5-year reunions, which I'm sure seem so impossibly far away at this moment, but I promise we'll be here before you can believe it. These and other opportunities supported by the Alumni Association will assure that you maintain the bonds that you have forged here and that you will never forget what a glorious thing it is to be a Hoya. I'll now ask you to stand. Thank you. 6 for 6, thank you. At the new student convocation, as the sign of your matriculation as students, you were given the academic gowns that you now wear. Georgetown's first gift to you, the first of many gifts that we celebrate thankfully here today. As you now make the transformation from students to alumni, please take out the pins that you were handed as you entered, but do not put them on yet. These are the official sign of your induction into the Georgetown alumni community, joining our more than 160,000 alumni around the world who have come before you in their commitment to Georgetown. Please then accept this pin as a symbol. See it as a sign that even though you will soon leave the campus, you will be Georgetown's sons and daughters forever. And never forget that to be an alumnus, an alumna of Georgetown means a lifelong commitment to the highest ideals of leadership and service to the nation and to the world. So, fellow alumni, as a sign of your continuing unity as members of the class of 2016, please turn to a friend nearby and pin the pin. Next year, we'll get the easy pins. And at this point, I would like to ask my very proud fellow alumni, just to my left, as well as all of you, to rise and join Georgetown's newest alumni class, the greatest class since 1984. The class of 2016, and join us in the alma mater. The words to the alma mater can be found on the back of your program, and the alma mater will be led by your classmate, Luke Schaefer from New York, Georgetown class of 2016.
Now
You may be seated. To inaugurate a lifetime of giving back to Alma Mater, who has given us all so much, I now invite Anabi Adoga of Maryland, class of 2016, to present your senior class gift.
Hi. I would first like to thank all the members of the Class of 2016 Fund Board, Laura Davis, Eileen Dombrowski, Maurice McCauley, Catherine Riley, and Dana Suikoff. Without their hard work, dedication, and passion for Georgetown, this effort would not have been possible. And thanks to Murphy Kate Delaney from the Office of Advancement, who helped the board to establish and execute our vision while serving as our most constant source of motivation and guidance. But most of all, thank you, all 1,310 Hoyas of the class of 2016 who have chosen to make their gift to the Class of 2016 Fund. You all have played a key role in the success of the Class of 2016 Fund and the effort to build and maintain our class's legacy at Georgetown. This year, as a result of hitting 77% participation rate, which is a new Georgetown University record, the Board of Regents has matched our gift on a percentage basis for an additional $75,000 commitment to scholarships. We are deeply grateful to the Regents who participated in the match, and on behalf of the Class of 2016, we thank you. The total sum of their match and the senior class gift will fund the equivalent of 6 scholarships. Georgetown is a living tradition of the highest commitment to leadership and service, of which all of us Hoyas are a part. For the past 4 years, we have taken part in that tradition as students. Now, as alumni, we begin to share the responsibility of keeping this tradition alive by living up to the principles and values of our Georgetown education and by giving back to the Hilltop through our time and resources. In this spirit of profound gratitude, I now ask Dr. DeGioia to join me at the podium. President DeGioia, as chair of the Class of 2016 Fund, and on behalf of our class, it is our privilege and our pleasure to present you this check for $151,800.20, our Class of 2016 gift to this university. May Georgetown live forever. Go Hoyas, we did it!
Thank you very much, Anabi, for your leadership of the Senior Class Fund. Thank to each of you in the Class of 2016 for this gift. My fellow alumni, you'll get used to this. But your generosity has helped to ensure that future generations of students will have the opportunity to attend Georgetown, to thrive here, to experience the legacy of scholarship and service that has animated our community for generations. And for this, we are grateful to each of you. I also wish to thank Grace and Matthew for sharing with us reflections on your years here at Georgetown. I'd like to express our gratitude to Mahir for his presence here. I remember 10 years ago when you were at this ceremony, and it's a pleasure to have you back, and for offering such thoughtful insights on this special occasion for our community. All of our reflections today have a depth of meaning and a sense of connection to the moment in which we're living, and we're all grateful to you for this gift that you gave us today. I'd also like to take a moment to recognize two university leaders who've made lasting contributions to our campus and to the lives of our students. I'd like to add my depth of appreciation to Father Kevin O'Brien, who we honor today with the Dorothy Brown Award for excellence in teaching for close to a decade. Father O'Brien has provided extraordinary leadership to our community. He has animated our religious and interreligious life in countless ways, and he has deepened the opportunities for our community to engage our Catholic and Jesuit identity. So Kevin, we're grateful to you and for this moment to recognize your service. We also recognize another individual for his commitment and service to our community. John Pierce, our long-serving university registrar. For those of you who don't know what a registrar does, we would not be seated here if we did not have one of the greats. John has presided over some of the proudest moments in the lives of our students and faculty of this institution, moments like today. And John, you have strengthened this place by your leadership and your service, and we thank you. John. John is completing 44 years of service with this convocation. So to John, to Kevin, to all the members of our faculty and staff, your impact, leadership, your encouragement have helped to contribute to this very special moment in the lives of our students. And to all of you, congratulations. It's a privilege to be here with you today, with your families, as we officially begin our commencement activities. Over the next few days, you will have the opportunity to reflect upon the remarkable journey that you have traveled over the past 4 years, on the ways in which you have grown, gained new knowledge, deeper understanding, on the relationships that you have forged, and of the vision that you have begun to develop for the life that you wish to lead, the impact that you wish to make. This journey began when you first came to the Hilltop as young women and men with exceptional talent and abilities, eager to explore new ideas and new ways of thinking. You stood right here in this auditorium for our new student convocation, full of anticipation and maybe even anxiety about the years ahead, but also with some excitement for what the future might hold. And now you stand here today with many of the same emotions of your first visit, but with all of the preparation that our community could provide you, with a greater appreciation and understanding of yourself, your world, your opportunities, and your responsibilities.
hold on to that excitement. Trust in all that you have accomplished, in your ability to learn. Know that you have the skills and the self-knowledge necessary to overcome challenges just as you have during your undergraduate experience. Through the engagement of our extraordinary faculty, with support from each other, from your friends, your family, you have developed a broad and deep knowledge of our world and a sense of your place in it. Through your own process of discernment and determination, you found your way, each of you carving out your own unique place here on this hilltop, contributing to our scholarship and learning, enlivening our mission with your passions and talents, and engaging in service to change lives all around us. Today we celebrate this journey that you've made and the one on which you're about to embark. This is an extraordinary moment in your lives. There's nothing quite like this moment. And I encourage you to cherish it, cherish those around you in this room, to reflect on all that you have achieved together, all that it means to have lived these years of your lives here on this hilltop. We're very proud of what you've accomplished. We're even more proud to place our trust in you, the newest daughters and sons of Georgetown. So let's make this official. Ladies and gentlemen of the Georgetown class of 2016, in the culminating event of this convocation, I ask you to rise to be admitted to the ceremonies of commencement. As president of Georgetown University, it is my great pleasure to admit the members of the class of 2016 to the ceremonies of commencement. These ceremonies, beginning today, continue through tomorrow and Saturday with the tripayas and the conferring of degrees by our schools, and conclude on Sunday, the 22nd of May, with the Baccalaureate Mass. Ladies and gentlemen, the Georgetown class of 2016, congratulations.
To the graduating class of 2016, while we still have you standing, allow us to ask probably the most important question you're going to hear today. How long has it been? It's been so long since last we met. Lie down, forever lie down. Or have you any money to bet? Lie down, forever lie down. There goes old Georgetown, straight for a touchdown. See how they gain ground. Lie down, forever lie down. Lie down, forever lie down. Oh, rah, 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 hurrah for Georgetown. Cheer for victory today. Whoop-de-woo! Here the sun is set to rest in the cradle of the west. Here the clouds are full, they both the blue and gray. We've heard those loyal fellas up at Yale brag and boast about the hula boola. We've heard the Navy yell, we listened to Cornell. We've heard the sons of Harvard tell of Princeton times will hold them. Choo-choo, rah-rah, dear old Holy Cross. The proud of Princeton Tiger is never at a loss. But the yell of all the yells, the yell that wins the day is the Hoya Hoya Saxa for the dear old blue and gray. Hoya!
Saxa!
Hoya!
Saxa!
Hoya!
Saxa!
Hoya!
Saxa!
If you could remain standing for just a moment for the benediction, which will be offered by Rabia Mirza of Florida, Georgetown class of 2016.
I don't know how I'm supposed to match the fight song, but In the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful. Assalamu alaikum. May peace and blessings be upon you all. Speaking from the Holy Quran, وَالَّذِينَ جَاهَدُوا فِينَا لَنَهْدِيَنَّهُمْ سُبُلَنَا وَإِنَّ اللَّهَ لَمَعَ الْمُحْسِنِينَ. And as for those who strive in our path, we will surely guide them in our ways. And verily God is with those who do good. My fellow Hoyas, as we gather here on the occasion of our convocation, a time of endings and beginnings, let us pray. O Almighty God, we ask for you to bless those who graduate today, to grant us goods opening and goods closing, to make best our achievements, our acts. O compassionate, purify our hearts and enlighten our minds. Make every aspect of our lives in service of you and your creation. O God, increase us in knowledge, but let this knowledge be in sincerity, and let it benefit humanity. Guide us to use our knowledge to expand our compassion and to help our fellow human beings. O our Creator, in our journey ahead, guide us, protect us, make us affirmers of the truth, and increase us in wisdom. Help us become tender-hearted like Abraham. Keep us close to you as you have with Jesus. Let us become trustworthy like Moses, wise like David, strong like Mary, compassionate like John, patient like Ishmael, humble like Zechariah, and devoted like Muhammad. May peace be upon them all. May God be our friend and our guide as we start a new chapter in our lives. Amen.
If you will, please remain standing in your places until the academic procession has recessed. We cordially invite all of you to follow the procession to the reception that has been prepared in the Leo J. O'Donovan Hall. That usually gets a little laughter. Thank you especially to the musicians, our speakers, and our guests who watched the ceremony from the tent. The exercises of the senior class convocation of 2016 are now officially at an end, and the commencement has officially begun.